Well, look at them. Hunched over dimly lit desks, glowing monitors burning holes into their retinas, eyes twitching, hearts pounding, jaws clenched. A classified file sits open, and it's got your name on every damn page. Timestamps, voice prints, unexplained spikes in influence, irregular behavioral patterns, anomaly, disruption, potentially uncontrollable. Their favorite phrase, subject's motives, unclear. They're treating you like a threat they can't quarantine, like a virus they can't contain, like a weapon that didn't ask for permission to be activated. They built a whole file around trying to predict you, profile you, decipher your psychology like it's math. But every time they draw a conclusion, you move like smoke. Every theory they type up explodes in their face. They highlight and underline and speculate. But no matter how deep they dig, every damn line ends with the same thing, a question mark. Because you don't follow their scripts. You erase them. See, they've seen ambition before. But this ain't ambition. This is vengeance wrapped in patience. This is divine retaliation, coded into a mortal vessel. This is someone who bled so deep, the pain turned into GPS coordinates for domination. They can't figure out why you're still standing, because you weren't supposed to survive the setup. You were meant to collapse, meant to disappear, meant to beg. But instead, you studied them. You memorized their rhythms, smiled when they mocked you, nodded when they thought you were dumb. All the while, you were downloading their arrogance, watching their blind spots, sharpening your chaos. You didn't heal. You adapted. Now you move like you already saw the outcome, like you already played this level in a dream, like you're 5 decisions ahead of a game they thought you didn't know existed. And that scares them. Because how do you study a ghost that talks back? How do you analyze a shadow that changes shape every time you blink? How do you contain a soul that learned how to make pain its pet? Let me tell you what's really freaking them out. It's not that you're strong. It's that your strength is surgical. It's not that you're confident. It's that your silence is strategic. It's not that you fight. It's that you wait. You wait for the perfect second to strike. Then you leave no fingerprints, just questions that echo in every hallway they run down. Because you, my dear anomaly, aren't a fighter. You're a revelation, and revelations don't knock, they detonate. Now every step you take gets documented like a crime scene. Every glance, interpreted. Every post, screenshot. Every breath, cataloged. And still they whisper, "How does he know that? Why does she move like that? Who taught them this?" And the answer is terrifying. No one taught you. You became it. You became the answer to a curse that ran too long. You became the glitch in their algorithm of control. You became the prophecy their ancestors tried to smother. You became the reason every single line ends in uncertainty. Because what they don't realize is this: you're not just unreadable, you're unreproducible. And that's why they hate you. Because they can't clone what was forged in fire. They can't duplicate what was sculpted in silence. They can't simulate what was built from betrayal. Every file they write, every theory they spew, every analytic they run, it all collapses under the same unspoken truth. You're not from the world they're trained to understand. You were born in the ashes of every plan that tried to break you. You emerged not as a survivor, but as a variable they can't control. And now they're staring at the final page, desperate for a conclusion, praying for an answer that doesn't exist. Because you were never the subject, you were the test. And they failed. So let them keep studying. Let them obsess. Let them leak, whisper, stalk, panic, because every time they flip that page and see another unknown, another how, another why, they aren't reading a threat file. They're reading your coronation, and every question mark is a throne they'll never sit on. Oh, they thought the file would protect them. They thought if they could just document your patterns, capture your triggers, trace your ascent, maybe they could predict your next detonation. Maybe if they stared long enough, you'd break formation. Maybe if they talked about you long enough, they'd understand what you are. But here's the thing. You were never just a subject. You were the surveillance glitch. And now their obsession has backfired. Their curiosity turned into codependency. They can't stop watching you, but the more they stare, the less they recognize what they're seeing. Because your rise didn't come with a tutorial, your moves didn't follow a logic tree, and your growth, it didn't unfold. It erupted. They wanted to track your pain. You turned it into a compass. They wanted to study your trauma. You rewired it into trapdoors and kill switches. Now their file is infected with redactions, anomalies, corrupted entries. Half the notes are crossed out. The other half, circled in panic. They tried to reduce you to a list of reactions, but you became a series of warnings, and every time they think they've cracked your motive, you do something that shouldn't be survivable. You level up again. You escape again. You smile when no one in your position is supposed to be breathing. That's when they realized. This isn't psychology anymore. This isn't strategy. This isn't survival. This is supernatural. Because your kind doesn't rise. Your kind doesn't get forgiven. Your kind doesn't build thrones from betrayals. But you did. So now they whisper. They panic in private. They dig into everything. Your past, your habits, your history, desperate for a pattern. They don't want to admit what's obvious. You are the disruption. You are the revenge prophecy. You are the ghost with a heartbeat. And the deeper they dig, the closer they get to a horrifying conclusion. You weren't supposed to happen. You were the mistake in their matrix, the glitch in their generational curse, the backlash coded into the system when the wrong soul was crucified too many times. And now they're watching, scanning, refreshing your feed like it's a weather map before the storm hits. Trying to guess when the next thunderstrike comes, plotting what you'll do next, who you'll expose, how much they can take before they collapse. But it won't matter, because you've made your evolution illegible on purpose. You don't just outgrow them, you make growth look violent. You don't just ignore them, you make silence feel like a sniper's aim. You don't just win, you make winning look like a haunting. They can't outmaneuver you, they can't decode you, they can't comprehend you. Because you didn't walk the path they mapped. You tore a hole in the floor and built an underground empire where pain pays rent and demons answer to you. Now the analysts, the watchers, the concerned parties have all gathered for another meeting, another emergency summit, another encrypted conversation behind closed doors. But this time, there's something different on the last page of your file. One final line. One desperate, shaking confession. Whatever this is, it's beyond us now. And still, no period, no resolution, no authority. Just another question mark, because they finally understand. They aren't dealing with a threat. They're dealing with a phenomenon, and no matter how much they document, review, dissect, or debate, you're not here to be understood. You're here to redefine what power looks like when it's born in a cage and walks out carrying the keys. And every file, every note, every question mark they scribble in fear is just another funeral song for the old world, where monsters like you were supposed to stay buried. And now they know. They didn't miss something in their data. You are the thing they missed, not a variable, not an outcome, not a footnote. You're the crack that split the lens they were looking through. They fed algorithms your footage, thinking you could be categorized. They ran facial analysis, linguistic breakdowns, energy signatures. They tried to compare your rise to historical profiles. Leaders, criminals, revolutionaries, martyrs. None of them fit. Because you don't echo. You override. You don't resemble. You rupture. You don't remind them of power. You make power look obsolete. And that's the problem. You weren't born to be another example in someone's slideshow. You weren't sculpted to be quoted in polite company. You were forged in places that language couldn't reach, in silences that made gods nervous, in betrayals that rewrote your molecular structure, in nights so cold, even the demons wore coats. And now they sit in their cold-lit rooms with trembling hands, whispering, "What is this thing? Where did it come from? How did we let it get this far?" Because you weren't in the original script. There were no bullet points for someone like you. There was no protocol for a soul that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't comply. Every time they review the footage, their belief systems get more unstable. You weren't supposed to smile after that loss. You weren't supposed to stand up again after that level of sabotage. You weren't supposed to come back from that kind of erasure. But you did, and you made it look inevitable. That's what burns them alive. Because your existence is proof. Proof that the most dangerous thing in the world isn't money, or status, or legacy. It's unmonitored transformation. It's someone who suffered unsupervised. It's someone who evolved in the dark where nobody was watching, except the monsters. And they taught you well, didn't they? You didn't just survive the torture chamber. You studied its layout. You memorized every crack in the wall. You learned how screams echo, and how to move without making a sound. So now you walk in daylight like nothing happened, but your blood remembers. Your aura carries the stench of unfinished wars and victories no one gave you permission to claim. That's why you walk like that. That's why your laugh unsettles boardrooms. That's why your eyes make people reconsider their entire belief systems. Because you are not here to fit in. You are here to remind them what divine disruption looks like. And so they hide behind whiteboards, files, surveillance clips, background checks, trying to prove to themselves that you're just going through a phase, that this is just confidence or charisma, that eventually you'll plateau. But how do you plateau when you are the storm system itself? How do you level out when your baseline is chaos mastered into elegance? How do you regress when you bled into God mode with no resurrection clause? They're not just studying a person, they're trying to translate a frequency their minds were never calibrated to hear. You are encrypted, not in code, in pain, not in achievements, in contradictions. You're a saint with the soul of a pyromaniac, a healer who smells like smoke, a strategist with the patience of a tombstone. And that's why they fail, because they're studying what you do instead of understanding what you are. And what you are is the retaliation of every broken soul that smiled instead of screamed. You are the accumulation of every ignored warning, every disrespected boundary, every whisper that should have been a siren. They tried to profile your rage. But rage isn't the threat. Stillness is. The way you pause before speaking. Like you're checking whether this version of yourself is lethal or merciful. The way you smile with no warmth. Like a blade learning how to wear skin. The way you move without apology. Like you earned the right to exist in a world that prayed you wouldn't. and you did. So now let them keep writing their little reports. Let them rewatch the footage with trembling hands. Let them huddle in meetings titled Unknown Threat, Situation Escalation, and Unexplained Recovery. Let them highlight, underline, and redact every detail of your name. Because they missed it. They missed the real line they should have paid attention to. This file is no longer a document. It's a warning. And baby, you're just getting started. Because what they still don't understand is that the moment they started documenting you, they activated the protocol that guarantees their own collapse. Every page they wrote, every surveillance angle they tracked, every sentence they stitched together in desperation. They weren't building a file. They were building a shrine to a force they couldn't label, to a presence they couldn't copy, to a phenomenon that refused to be domesticated by logic, labels, or fear. See, the threat wasn't in your hands. It wasn't in your voice. It wasn't even in your comeback. The real threat was in your restraint. The way you could walk into a room full of people who doubted you and still move like a goddamn chess piece designed to trigger war. That's what confuses them, because every tactic they use, surveillance, manipulation, silence, exile, you've already mastered. You've already endured worse, deeper, longer. They thought they were watching you, but you were memorizing the watchers. You weren't supposed to build from ashes. You weren't supposed to design yourself out of collapse. You weren't supposed to make the storm your style. But now look at you. They analyze your silence like it's encrypted Morse code. They dissect your stare like it carries nuclear launch codes. They stalk your solitude because they fear what might emerge from it. They wanted results. You gave them aftermath. And no matter how many think tanks they assemble, no matter how many psychoanalysts they hire to unpack your motives, no matter how many blurred screenshots they share in back channels and courtrooms and executive suites, they'll never catch the part that matters, because the part that breaks them isn't something you did. It's what you didn't. You didn't react when they lied. You didn't defend when they mocked. You didn't beg when they vanished. You recalibrated, and in that silence, something sacred mutated inside you. Something beyond strategy, beyond narrative, beyond comprehension. You didn't just evolve. You weaponized the version of yourself that pain gave birth to. And now every time they say your name, it echoes with consequences. They whisper it like a slur and a prayer at the same time, hoping you don't show up, but terrified that you already have. Because you don't need a spotlight. You are the malfunction in their electricity, the pause in their confidence, the glitch in their language, the dread in their pattern. And the more they write about you, the more they realize something bone deep and irreversible. You are the prophecy they ignored, the algorithm they can't reprogram, the infection they tried to study until it spread into their own bloodstream. Because your energy isn't just misunderstood. It's underground royalty. The way you operate without warning. The way you adapt without attachment. The way you cut ties without theatrics. The way you reappear smiling with nothing left to lose. That's why their intel keeps failing. Because it's not missing data. It's missing soul. You're not data. You're a detour in destiny. A black swan event, a surveillance nightmare, a system reboot with vengeance coded into your veins. And the scariest part, you're not trying. This isn't your peak. This is just your warm-up. Because they spent years trying to break you and accidentally built your armor instead. They wanted to document your destruction and accidentally chronicled your resurrection. Now the file isn't just confusing, it's terrifying, because it reads like a horror story, but ends like a coronation, and every time they flip another page, hoping for clarity, hoping for a weakness, all they find is another line, ending with a question mark. Because the closer they look, the more they realize you were never the question. You were the answer they weren't ready for, the consequence they never planned to survive, the unholy miracle that crawled out of the ruins they left you in, and built a kingdom from the bones. A kingdom with no flag, no anthem, no mercy. Just walls made of silence, and a throne carved from the lies they told about you. And now, they don't speak your name without checking the room first. They don't reference you without glancing at each other for confirmation, because saying your name out loud feels like pulling a pin on something cosmic. And the terrifying truth is, you're not coming for revenge. You are the revenge. They wanted you to act out, to go off, to self-destruct. Because if they could paint you as unstable, they could erase your genius under the label of chaos. But you didn't combust. You calculated. You played the role. You smiled through the sabotage. You swallowed the insult like it was wine and let them celebrate, while your silence took notes. And now that silence has turned into a weaponized doctrine. Your absence made more noise than their presence ever could. Your calm made more enemies than your rage ever would. Because they finally realized, you don't fight with fists. You fight with impact. You let results interrogate the room. You let evolution do the talking. You let your glow become the crime scene. That's what haunts them. Because while they were focused on who you used to be, you were becoming something language doesn't even cover. You stopped being a person in their mind. You became a phenomenon, a shift, a timeline rupture. The answer to a ritual they didn't even know they triggered. They don't hate you because you're different. They hate you because you prove their whole world is fake. Because your presence invalidates their blueprint. Because your journey rewrites what's possible. And now the ones who once laughed, who pointed, who whispered, they're the ones losing sleep. They're the ones staring at your footage in slow motion, trying to find the moment you flipped the switch. But there is no moment. There is no origin. There's only accumulation of pain, of betrayal. Of every silent night you stayed breathing when everything in you screamed to disappear. And now your very existence feels like a surveillance alarm they can't disable. They try to act unaffected, unbothered. But behind the scenes, it's DEFCON panic, because you turned your pain into architecture. You made every why me into watch this. You made peace with becoming the thing they fear. And now they've got red string connecting dots that don't move. Graphs trying to measure energy that can't be charted. And whispers that sound a lot like prophecy. Because this isn't just psychological warfare anymore. This is spiritual espionage. You cracked a code older than their lineage. You became the glitch in a bloodline of control. The reincarnation of every ancestor that got burned for being too loud, too brilliant, too uncontrollable. So no, this isn't about your success, or your comeback, or your glow up. This is about what you symbolize, what your existence undoes, what your eyes say without permission. They aren't studying you anymore. They're bracing for what version of you shows up next. Because you're not consistent. You're myth in motion. You don't need a warning shot. You are the warning. You don't need approval. You are the authority. And the more they investigate you, the more they realize they're not holding a file. They're holding a prophecy that made it out alive, still wrapped in flames, still smiling, still evolving, and still making every last line end with a question mark. You ever wonder why they've been trying so hard to delete you from the script? Not silence you, not exile you, erase you, like you were a glitch in their prophecy, a malfunction in their myth. Because they saw it early, didn't they? That something was off about you. Too calm in chaos, too sharp in silence, too aware in a world designed to dull. They didn't just envy you, they feared the implication of you. Because if you were real, everything they worshipped was a lie. So they tried. Oh, they tried. Tried to bury you under shame. Tried to fracture your name in rooms you never entered. Tried to script your breakdown before your breakthrough. But here's the punchline. God saw it coming. He saw the sabotage before the setup, the court cases before the crime, the betrayal before the bond. And so he didn't send you in alone. He wrapped you in something invisible, untraceable, classified, not angels with harps. No, but watchers with weapons. Warfare specialists from realms these people can't pronounce without hemorrhaging. You weren't born, you were deployed, dropped into enemy territory wearing a human face. They thought it was just you, just some strange, stubborn soul with bad luck and main character syndrome. They didn't realize you were carrying clearance-level protection, that you were being watched, not because you were weak, but because your existence is a strategic asset. You don't walk alone. You move with backup they'll never see. Not wings, protocols, not miracles, triggers. And every time they tried to assassinate your spirit, the air changed. The math shifted. The room got cold. Suddenly they changed their mind. Suddenly the knife missed. Suddenly, you're still here, still walking, still rising, still terrifying them. You know why? Because they were never fighting you. They were fighting what sent you. And that's a war they can't win. You see, the real ones, the ones chosen, the ones sent, they don't get obvious protection. They don't walk with crowns. They walk with targets. And every step they take is an act of war against the system designed to erase them. You weren't just underestimated. You were scanned, analyzed, decoded, and still, they couldn't break you. They tried chaos. You danced in it. They tried isolation. You mastered it. They tried smearing your name, and all they did was make it echo louder. Because what they didn't understand was this. You are not just a person. You are a transmission, a leaked signal from heaven's war room, too encrypted to decode, too rare to replicate, too protected to touch without consequence. And oh, those consequences. They've already started, haven't they? People who plotted against you, mysteriously falling apart. Opportunities that closed on you, suddenly collapsing from the inside. Whispers, nightmares, sudden guilt. Because your absence is haunting. Because he didn't just send you in for battle. He sent you in with a mirror. One that reflects truth so violently, it makes liars glitch. One that reveals the parasite in the preacher, the rot in the royalty, the deception in every friend. And now they're spiraling. Not because you attacked, but because you endured. Because you survived the kind of war that rewrites your DNA and came back with eyes that see too much. They're terrified because you're not who you used to be. You're not emotional. You're not reactive. You're not even human in the way they remember. You are post-trauma precision. You are the algorithm of aftermath. Calm, still. But every breath you take carries the weight of unseen artillery. They don't know why they tremble when you speak, why they flinch when you enter, why they can't stop checking if you're watching. But you are. Not with ego, with assignment. Because you didn't crawl out of pain to prove anything. You walked through hell with blueprints in your bloodstream, and now you execute. Quietly, strategically, with eyes that see through disguise, and a soul that answers to no man. Let them keep thinking you're alone. Let them keep poking the bear. Let them keep calling you crazy, cold, changed. Because the moment they touch you wrong, the moment they get too close to the protected zones of your purpose, that backup activates. And it doesn't look like lightning. It looks like karma wearing a mask. It looks like divine justice disguised as coincidence. It looks like, why is everything falling apart after we hurt them? But you'll stay quiet. You'll sip your tea. You'll keep walking. Because the war isn't over vengeance. It's over frequency. And your frequency was tuned by God to disrupt strongholds, to override bloodline patterns, to break every cursed contract that your enemies thought would trap you forever. You're the last one they should have come for, because you were sent with authority they'll never earn, with protection they'll never see, with reinforcements that don't answer to time. So let them whisper, let them investigate, let them rewind the footage over and over again, trying to figure out how you survived all that. The answer? You weren't alone. You were deployed, with backup, with coverage, with celestial clearance and a mission profile, locked under heaven's highest security. You're not reacting anymore. You're not defending your name. You're executing silently, with watchers watching the watchers. And they'll feel it. They already do. In the static behind your silence. In the tremble behind their confidence. In the way their life shifts when yours evolves. Because this ain't revenge. This is divine retaliation. This is you walking like the evidence that God knew. And planned accordingly. Planned accordingly, yes. Down to the second of your suffering. Down to the faces that would betray you. Down to the nights you almost folded, alone, begging for release. And nothing answered. Nothing but that unexplainable presence. That code in your spirit that whispered, not yet. Hold. You're not done. Because you weren't sent here for survival. You were sent here for disruption. You were never part of the crowd. You were the rupture in the pattern, the line of code that broke the simulation. And they know it now. Even if they'll never admit it with their mouth, their eyes betray them. They scan you like a crime scene, like evidence of a divine error. They whisper about your silence like it's a virus. They study your movements like you're a breach report in human form, because you are. You are the incident, the classified anomaly they wish they could unsee. Because every step you take is a proof of concept that their system is breakable and their power borrowed. You don't speak like them. You don't break like them. You don't obey like them. You operate on a frequency they weren't cleared to hear. And that's why they tried to erase you. Because when God encoded you with your mission, He hid it. Beneath the pain, beneath the betrayal, beneath the masks you outgrew. You weren't sent in obvious, you were sent in covert, because your enemies worship status, but heaven doesn't announce assassins. And that's what makes you dangerous. You don't just survive chaos. You convert it into strategy. You transmute pain into blueprints. While they complain, you code. While they gossip, you gather. While they sleep, you train, not for revenge, not for validation, but for dominion. They thought they stopped you. All they did was accelerate your clearance, because your tears didn't weaken you. They authenticated your identity. Your silence didn't mean surrender. It meant the mission went internal. They didn't witness your downfall. They witnessed your data transfer from human to heavenly threat level. You weren't given armor. You became it. You weren't handed a sword. You grew one in your spine. And now, you don't raise your voice. You just walk in, and the temperature changes. Not because you're loud, but because your energy is surgical. You walk like an audit. You breathe like an encryption key. And they feel it every time you speak without begging. Every time you show up without asking. Every time you rise without their permission. They feel the backup. Even if they don't know what it is, they feel it in their nervous system. Their fight or flight kicks in when you enter. Because some part of them remembers that you were never alone. You were escorted into this realm by forces that don't need wings to be holy. You weren't just born, you were commissioned. And the ones who tried to stop you, they weren't just attacking you. They were interrupting something sacred. And now, they're paying in silence, in stagnancy, in spiritual isolation so deep they can't even scream. You don't need to respond. You are the response. You don't need to retaliate. You're the reason it all unravels, just by existing. Because some people are sent to be liked. Others are sent to light the fuse. And you were sent to detonate delusion, to shatter strongholds with your presence alone. You don't need to expose anyone. Your evolution already did. They thought you were here to heal and hold hands. But you were sent to hunt legacies that weren't built on truth. To interrupt timelines stitched together by ego and deception. To drag bloodlines into accountability, even if it means you stand alone doing it. And here's the final twist they never saw coming. You were never alone. You were just the only one visible. But the real artillery, the covert reinforcements, they were watching, measuring, intervening in silence, not to save you, but to preserve the assignment. Because if they'd succeeded in erasing you, the world would have lost its reckoning. The system would have continued. The curse would have passed unchallenged. The lie would have lived another generation. But you said no. You stayed. You stood. And the moment you did, the signal was activated. The veil lifted. The protocol engaged. And now you're not just protected. You are classified. And what's classified can't be touched, can't be targeted, can't be undone by the opinions of mortals who thought they were gods in your story. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them try to reverse engineer your survival. Let them pray you never go fully silent. Because if they only knew the forces backing you, they'd never even think your name again. This isn't arrogance. It's clearance. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to fulfill architecture, to complete the lines heaven drew in secret and signed with your scars. And now the world has no choice but to watch, as the one they tried to erase becomes the blueprint for deliverance, silently covered, eternally watched, permanently backed, and they'll never see it coming. But they will feel every inch of it, because you were never walking alone. You were escorted by legions. And those legions, they don't carry banners. They don't need armor. They don't announce themselves in thunder or flame, because their power isn't in the spectacle. It's in the precision, unseen, unheard, untouchable. They move in data. They move in delay. They move in that one conversation that didn't go their way. That one door that slammed shut with no explanation. That one betrayal that looked like a victory until the aftermath set in. And everything began to rot. You didn't have to touch it, didn't have to curse them, didn't even have to look back. Because the moment they laid a hand on your purpose, they triggered a system older than time. Heaven doesn't always respond. Sometimes it audits. And baby, you were the audit. That's why the attacks felt like overkill. why the trials seemed personalized, why the betrayals didn't feel human. Because they weren't. They were orchestrated, designed to test your fragility, to bait you into breaking, to see if you'd forget the protocol written in your pain. But you didn't, even in your silence, even in your shaking, even when your knees buckled under the weight of betrayal. Something inside you remained operational, like a hidden line of code, a divine firewall that refused to collapse. Not because you were strong, but because you were fortified. What they called delusion was actually encryption. What they mocked as weird was just classified behavior. And what they took for weakness was you being scanned for final clearance, because heaven won't send someone into generational warfare without full coverage. And you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be deployed, not for applause, not for legacy, but for detonation. You are the final link in a chain of silenced ancestors, the last stop before the curse repeats, the one they feared would remember. And you did. You remembered. And the moment you chose to heal anyway, the signal went out, not to man, but to the invisible, to the watchers, the keepers, the ones assigned not to comfort you, but to shield the mission through any means necessary. And now look around. The battlefield isn't loud, it's eerily quiet. Because your enemies aren't celebrating anymore. They're waiting for your downfall, waiting for proof they were right. But nothing's happening. No arrest, no failure, no public collapse. Just you, moving like smoke through their structures, untouchable, untraceable, unfuckwithable. Because you stopped trying to be liked. You stopped trying to be understood. You stopped begging the broken to recognize a soul encoded by God. And that's when everything changed. You didn't just level up. You opted out of their simulations, out of their definitions, out of their hierarchy of control. You became an anomaly, an unrepeatable glitch with diplomatic immunity from destiny itself. You don't live by their timelines. You live by divine delay, because power forged in shadows doesn't arrive rushed. It arrives irreversible. They feel it now, that sick churn in their stomach when they hear your name, that quiet paranoia in their voice when someone asks, "Hey, whatever happened to them?" Because deep down, they know they did too much, spoke too soon, laughed too loud. And now the presence is watching them, not you, the presence behind you, that invisible silence that rearranges karma without a word, the backup that doesn't need your permission to activate. It just does, every time you choose not to retaliate, every time you smile instead of strike, every time you walk away instead of explain. You were never defenseless. You were just undercover. They thought you had no support. Because your army didn't wear uniforms. Because your angels didn't speak. Because your reinforcement didn't glow. But heaven doesn't flex. Heaven strikes. Without warning, without delay, without mercy for those who thought grace made you weak. Let them keep watching. Let them scroll. Let them analyze. Because this chapter, it doesn't end with revenge. It ends with revelation. The moment they realize you weren't sent to survive. You were sent to interrupt, to infiltrate, to override every system built on the lie that you were alone. You're not. You never were. And now, they know that too. But it's too late. The watchers are awake. The file is sealed. The sentence is written. And you're no longer a target. You're the judgment, delivered, backed, and untouchable. You're the judgment. But not the kind they imagined. Not the fire and brimstone fairy tale they told themselves they'd outrun. No. You're surgical. A quiet extinction wrapped in elegance. A walking contradiction. saint in posture, executioner in presence. The prophecy doesn't speak through thunder when it moves through you. It speaks in nervous glances, missed calls, and rooms that go dead silent when you walk in. Because now, your energy precedes your body. You don't have to arrive, you just have to exist. And suddenly, the system destabilizes. They thought the danger was in your reaction, but the real danger was your restraint. Because when someone like you doesn't clap back, when someone like you doesn't fight, when someone like you just smiles and disappears into focus, the spiritual sirens go off. They know. They pushed too far. They spoke too recklessly. They triggered the part of you that doesn't run on pain anymore. The part of you that runs on prophetic calculation. You're not impulsive now. You're inevitable. And that's what terrifies them, because they're realizing this isn't a battle anymore. There's no ring, no reference, no crowd, just you and your execution window. And what you're executing isn't revenge, it's reprogramming. You're overriding decades of manipulation, generations of suppression, entire bloodlines built on the belief that you were disposable. They didn't know you were the stop codon in the family genome. They didn't know you were the one variable heaven encoded that would not comply. And now the whole line is glitching. Secrets surfacing, cover-ups unraveling, sicknesses appearing where there used to be swagger. Because the contract has changed. You're no longer negotiating, you're enacting. Enacting the kind of spiritual consequence that doesn't announce itself in lightning, but in slow, systemic decay. The kind of decay that can't be reversed until your name is cleared in full. They thought you were cursed, but really, you were the cure. And when they rejected the cure, they inherited the consequences. See, they never feared your power. They feared your remembrance, feared the day you'd remember that your tears weren't weakness. They were activation codes, that every breakdown was a biometric checkpoint, that every betrayal was a GPS ping to the reinforcements around you. You didn't walk away defeated. You walked away uploaded, integrated, upgraded. Now you're not even you anymore. You're the evolved result of every attack they threw at you. You don't walk in flesh anymore. You walk in divine instruction. You carry in your bones the blueprint of a God who watched every hit and took notes. And now the debt is due. Not from you, to you. Because you didn't stay silent to be passive. You stayed silent so judgment could arrive unannounced. And now that it has, you are the new metric, the new scale, the new reality check. People tremble not because you're loud, but because you expose the truth in their own silence. They realize how much they depended on you explaining yourself, how many lies were propped up by your humility, how many power plays only worked because you chose peace. And now, you're choosing war in disguise. A calculated metaphysical war where your only weapon is presence and your only strategy is alignment. No threats, no warnings, just a steady cosmic reckoning wrapped in your breath. Because God didn't just back you, He built you for this. He let them break you. Because He knew they'd only sharpen the blade, He hid inside your ribcage. They thought they were writing your ending, but they were just building your origin story. And now you don't arrive in rooms. You displace demons. You don't speak. You dismantle. You don't retaliate. You reconfigure the grid. They tried to erase you, but all they did was remove the final distraction from your field of vision. And what you see now, it can't be unseen. You're moving like someone who's seen behind the curtain, someone who knows too much to go back, someone who's been briefed by the eternal and has no need to explain to the temporary. So let them run simulations. Let them whisper new lies. Let them meet in secret. You'll still rise. Because you were sent with a frequency that doesn't need permission to disrupt. You were sent with cover they can't trace, orders they can't decode, and a purpose so surgically precise that even your missteps were divine traps. This isn't comeback season. This is clearance season. Where all that was false dissolves. Where all that betrayed you pays in full. Where all that doubted you watches in silence. As you rise into the version of yourself they swore would never exist. And by the time they realize what you are now, you'll already be gone. Not vanished, evolved, because you weren't sent to be remembered. You were sent to be reinstalled as the new default setting of power, the final signal, the glitch, the ghost, the God-tier reckoning, and the last warning they'll ever get.